What is up, sweet friends, and welcome to Imperfect Success, the podcast teaching you, a success-driven perfectionist, how to achieve your goals imperfectly. This episode is a long time coming. So after years of coaching people who were frustrated about, procrastinating on their dreams, they felt overwhelmed by their goals, they had no idea where to start, and so many other frustrations that they were experiencing, it is time to dedicate an entire episode to my goal breakdown method. So buckle up, get some notes, because this is gonna be a biggie. Let's dive in. My name is Nicole Baker-Holloman. I'm a coach for perfectionists, a recovering perfectionist herself, and a striver of imperfect success. This is probably going to become one of my new favorite episodes. But let's first talk about why the heck goal setting is so overwhelming. First and foremost, we're not taught how to goal set. Can we just call a spade a spade? We are not taught how to break down big goals. And especially in today's day and age where we're getting information coming out of our yin yang. It's coming everywhere towards us. And this information is causing an informational overload, which means we feel more overwhelmed much more easily. But when we're getting all of this information, maybe we're scrolling through Instagram or TikTok and we see people traveling, we see people starting businesses, we see people getting married, buying houses, making X amount of money a year. And we think, oh my God, I need to be doing all of those things. There's this big skewed line in our brain now, basically, where it says, if I'm not doing everything, and also if I'm not doing everything to my fullest capability and the best that I possibly can, which for high achievers and perfectionists is an insanely high standard. We can all call that out in ourselves. If we're not doing everything, then we're failing. And this can cause so much procrastination. This can cause us to feel so anxious and like we're not doing enough. This also can cause us to burn out easier if we're flooring it on the gas trying to do it all. But we always have one thing in common, and that is we're constantly focused on what we are not achieving. So if you've been in my space for a while, this is going to be a very familiar analogy, but buckle up because it's real important for today. One of the things that I hear most often from people is twofold when it comes to goals. One, they have way too many goals. And I don't think that is a bad thing necessarily. We are programmed to want a lot of things as high achievers. We want to achieve a lot in our life. But when we try to go after too many goals at once, it's like this. We're standing in a field. In front of us are 40 cats. And in these cats, there's some hyperactive, hulked out catnip that's causing them to sprint around, run 1,000 miles per hour, pee, hiss, everything. But our one mission, our one goal in life is to herd all 40 of these cats. I want you to imagine that each one of those cats is a goal of yours. If you try to go out into the field, arms outstretched, and try to catch all 40 cats at the same time, how do you think that would go for you? Not well. Let's be real. It would not go very well. Instead, we need to go out into said field and get one cat at a time, because eventually with that method, all 40 cats will be moved from that play pen or wherever they are, field, wherever they are. So that's number one, the biggest, I'm going to call it mistake that I see a lot of people make. Number two is that they put way too much pressure on themselves to be at the end result as fast as possible. And I'm not even going to say as fast as possible, to be at the end result from the get-go. Basically, what I mean by that is they feel like they need to be an expert in the field. They feel like they need to know everything. I see this a lot of times with people starting new businesses. If I'm starting a business and I feel like I need to know everything about email marketing, marketing myself, social media engagement, other funnels like a podcast, or I need to know every single thing. And then plus also the service that I am providing. I would never get started. My brain would be so overwhelmed. It would slam that flight, fight, freeze button, and I would procrastinate and say, I'm not really feeling it today. Maybe I'll start tackling this tomorrow. And I'll say that over and over again until the day I die. So a lot of the times when we try to jump to the end result, or we try to pressure ourselves into feeling like we need to be perfect, imposter syndrome plays a huge role here. Absolutely. When we try to be the best on the first try, we completely completely negate the fact that we do have to be beginners. We do have to start that journey at level 0. And that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people because we don't want to feel like a failure. We don't like to feel like we're learning something new for the first time when we're trying to be the best at everything. I would argue that a lot of high achievers, when they do tap into that, I'm going to start learning, I'm going to start progressing and start leaning more into the journey-based thinking, they actually end up having way more fun and they put way less pressure on themselves. Just a fun fact. So we screw ourselves over when it comes to goals in so many ways. So this is going to be a quick and dirty episode because I want you to be able to revisit this over and over and over and over again with every new goal you're tackling. So let's talk about how the heck do we break down big goals? Now, number one, I want you to remember that cat analogy. If I have 45 goals I'm trying to go after right now, it's not going to work so well for me. I really do encourage you to pick one, maximum two goals. I want you to also think about it this way. Let's say I have 10 goals right now that I'm working towards. And lined up at a starting line are 10 different Nicoles. Each one of these Nicoles represent a goal. And 100 paces away from these 10 Nicoles is a finish line. This is the finish line of all 10 of my goals. But each of these 10 Nicoles can't take more than one step at a time. So for instance, goal Nicole number 4 is going to take a step forward. Then goal Nicole number 9 is going to take a step forward. Then goal Nicole number 3 is going to take a step forward. 5, 6, all these. And then, we're all just one step forward. How long is it going to take all 10 Nicoles to cross the finish line of 100 paces away? Fucking forever is the answer there, by the way. And unfortunately, we as human beings do not have the patience for that anymore. We'll get maybe 2 or 3 steps, and then we'll say, oh my God, this is taking so long. Oh my God, I'm not making progress. Judy on the internet is doing so well. Look at her. She's making buckets of money and she's traveling to Italy and I'm so fucking jealous and I'm worthless. We beat ourselves up because we do not see the progress because it's so minute in this format. Versus if I'm one Nicole, 100 paces in front of me is a goal and I step. Yeah, it's still going to take a minute because goals do take time. They do take hard work. I'm not going to sugarcoat that for you. That is actually one of my favorite things about goals is how they do take hard work because they require us to get out of our comfort zone. But if I'm just taking one Nicole across that finish line, how much faster is that going to happen for me? So much flippin' faster. Also, added bonus, my brain starts to say, oh, look at you. You're making progress. Look at you. You're getting forward. Look at you. How fucking amazing are you that you're taking a step forward and taking a step forward and taking a step forward. We see that motivation, that momentum that we're making. And it is one of the best feelings our brains can feed off of when it comes to goal setting. So before we even dive into this 3-part method, I want you to really think about what is your one goal here. I would strongly recommend sticking with one goal. If you absolutely must, because you have to and there's no other option, fine, 2 is okay, but it's not preferred. I always try to have mainly one goal at a time. I'll be straight up honest with you right now. My one goal right now is very much not even Life Coach Baker related. Things in Life Coach Baker are kind of on a little bit of an autopilot with the exception of my one-on-one clients who obviously are never on autopilot. I always want to give them my all. But my one goal right now is on this new podcast that I'm working on. But I needed to make that a very deliberate decision that I'm not going to try to be the best in Life Coach Baker like I normally do strive to be and do this at the same time because I will literally kill myself. There's no way I could do that and not burn out into a puddle of Nicole skin. So I had to make a very intentional decision to pivot my priorities, to pivot my focus. And you know what? No one exploded. No one died. My business is still doing great. You're still listening to a podcast episode that's coming out on a normal schedule. Things are still happening, but my focus is elsewhere, again, besides my clients because they are my heart and soul and I love them. So I really want you to keep in mind that when you're pivoting focus, when you're pivoting towards one goal, It does not mean you're suddenly negating everything else. We talked about this in the push period episode. It just means you're taking it from, maybe 135% like we normally push it, and maybe bringing it down to like a 50 or a 60% or less, depending. Like my social media went to a 0% for Life Coach Baker because I couldn't handle it, and I was okay with that. So I really want you to keep in mind that it is going to require you to make some intentional decisions about where you're going to put your time and energy. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about this goal setting method. So step 1, every single goal, notice that's singular, not plural, every single goal has something called an Everest goal. What the heck is an Everest goal? This is the level 100 of your goals. This is the 100 paces away. This is the end result that we are working towards. Think about it this way. If you are in a bar and you're playing darts, you are just, throwing darts, you're throwing darts at a dartboard. This Everest goal is the bullseye. It's the direction we're wanting to head in. It's the golden crop. It's the absolutely what we're working towards. We have to know what our bullseye is. We have to know where our Everest goal is because it is the foundation of all of the other decisions we're making. But many people are either playing with 14 dartboards on a wall or no dartboards on a wall, meaning their Everest goal is unclear. I want to get healthier. I'm sorry, guys, that is not a clear goal. What does healthier mean to you? I want to start a business. Yeah, that's more specific, but what kind of business? What level of business do you want to get to for this Everest goal? Because you can start a business in however long. You can say, I'm going to be a business owner and get your LLC and call it good. But you could also say, I want to go full time working for myself. That is an Everest goal. I want to be making X amount of money per month. That is an Everest goal. I want to take Fridays off. That is an Everest goal. So I want you to keep in mind, specificity here is key. It's going to be key for every single step of the way, but this one especially. It is the bullseye versus just a blank fucking wall that we're throwing darts at. We need to have a specific goal in mind. But keep in mind, this is also a level 100. So this is going to take time to make it to. However, I see this from a lot of people. They make their Everest goal a little too long. And too long is going to be very subjective. I'll speak for myself. I like to make my Everest goals no longer than 3 to 6 months. My Everest goals are very short when it comes to long-term goal setting. But that is because I know my brain and I know my ability to, have shiny object syndrome or my ability to, feel like I want to pivot or, work on something else. I know that my brain moves really fast in that way. So 3 to 6 months is actually a really good Everest timeline for me. Some people say, 10-year goals. In my opinion, our day and age, our brains need for speed, our brain's need for I want it now, 10 years is too fucking long. I'm going to even say 2 to 3 years is pushing it a bit. I would personally, if you're new to this, go no more than a year. But Nicole, my Everest goal is so much further away. Can you make it smaller? Could you do a stepping stone Everest goal? What about that? So for instance, if my goal is to I've never had a business before ever in my life, and my goal is to make $1 million in my business. Maybe a year is not possible for that. I mean, nothing is impossible, but that's a unicorn story. And let's just, say maybe we're not unicorns here. So instead of saying, I'm going to make $1 million in a year because Nicole said I need to have a year-long Everest goal, maybe it's how can I make my first 50K? Or how can I make my first 100K? Or how can I make my first 20K, depending on where you're starting at. But make it a little smaller because then it's something to work towards. And then you get another one. And then you get another one. When we make it too big, our brain can say, well, I'm not there yet. Therefore, I suck. Therefore, I'm not enough. And we can make it very all or nothing. And we're constantly living in the what am I lacking because I'm not to my end result yet, even though it's a really long goal. And we logically know that our brain just doesn't. So I want you all to think about, as you're listening to this episode, think about what is your Everest goal here? What is your level 100? What is your 3 months to a year goal that you want to work towards? And how can you make it more specific? Again, I want to get healthier is not specific enough. I want to run a half marathon, that is much more specific. So I want you all to keep in mind specificity when it comes to Everest goals. It doesn't need to be full SMART format, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time defined. It doesn't need to be full SMART format, but I do a very loose definition of a SMART format if that's your MO. So that is step one. What is your Everest goal? The long term, the bullseye, the level 100. Now, next, we need to know what is our milestone goals. What the heck is a milestone goal? This is the miniature, teeny tiny goals that are steps 1 through 99. Remember, if Everest is 100, we're starting here at level 0 because easy math. Milestone goals are 1 through 99. And here's the best part. You don't need to know all 1 through 99. That would actually be impossible and drive you crazy. We just need to know the next milestone goal, up to 3, but I wouldn't recommend going further than 3 milestone goals. Now, here's the fun thing about milestone goals. There's 2 huge benefits that we get from milestone goals. Number 1 is this is what breaks it down into easy, manageable goals that bring us to the longer term goal eventually. I love my milestone goals to be about a week to 2 weeks. Tiny, teeny, freaking tiny milestone goals. The smaller the milestone goals, the better. But here's the big hidden bonus. When we start to say, oh, my goal is this teeny tiny thing that's going to bring me to my bigger goal, our brain starts to look at goal setting as journey, as, oh, let me achieve this mini goal. Dopamine hit. Let me achieve this next mini goal. Dopamine hit. I'm fucking amazing. Look at me achieving shit. Milestone goal number 3. Let me tackle that. Oh, look at me. Oh my God. And it just builds this momentum and this motivation and this amazing positive self-talk that we suddenly see ourselves accomplishing shit over and over and over again on our way to this big goal. But it's less all or nothing. It's less level 100 or bust. It's instead saying 1, 2, 3 along the way. It's huge when it comes to our brain learning how to celebrate ourselves, learning how to see the progress that we are making. So again, I like to make my milestone goals really, really freaking small. So let's say, for instance, my Everest goal is I want to, I use this a lot, but I know it's because a lot of people are currently in the middle of this goal. I want to start a website for my business. I want to hit publish and launch on a website for my business. My milestone goal will not be finish website. My milestone goal, my level 1 milestone goal will not be website. That is impossible to do in a week unless you're magic. But I'm assuming most of us are not magic when it comes to this. Instead, my level 1 might be outline the different pages that I want for my website. Pick fonts and colors and other branding aspects might be milestone goal number 2. Milestone goal number 3 might be write first draft of each page or write first draft of about me page. It can be super small. And then eventually, would it be final edits? Yes. 99, hit publish. Yes. So it is all about making things tiny, teeny tiny here. For example, however, for my new podcast, Fantasy Fangirls, my sister and I are right now working on monetization of a podcast that launched at the time of recording this 3.5 weeks ago, which is fucking crazy. And we're now looking at, okay, what does this look like? So for us, we're having to break this down into milestone goals. First milestone goals was get a sponsor deck ready. Second milestone goal was outline, I think it was like 15 to 16 people who we want to pitch to. Milestone goal number 3, pitch to said people. Now we're looking at merch. What does merch look like? Then we're going to look at Patreon, like all these different things, but we had to break them down into these smaller goals. And we never planned out more than 2 ahead. It was always, okay, that's done. What's next? Okay, that's done. Now what? And I think that's really important because it gives you the focus to be able to focus directly on this next milestone goal rather than living in the future of 3, 4, 5, 6 milestone goals ahead. So I want you to think about what is your Everest goal? Again, go back to that. What is your level 100? And then what is your first, not 15th, first milestone goal? Tiny goal, 1 to 2 weeks. We love a tiny goal here. Nothing is too small. If it feels too easy, great. That means you're doing it right. It doesn't need to feel difficult for you to feel proud of yourself. Now, if you're thinking, crap, Nicole, I have no idea. I don't know where to start. My milestone goals are so muddied. I'm going to share with you the golden milestone goal for when you don't know what to do. That works, in my opinion, and from what I've seen through my clients, through my own research, 100% of the time. Message people who are achieving your goal or something similar, who are 3 to 5 steps ahead of you. Message someone who is working towards the same goal or accomplishing it, who is 3 to 5 steps ahead of you, depending on the size of your Everest goal. So again, if I want to be an author, I might message my friends or my network of people who have written a first draft of a book. Or I might message my favorite indie author and say, hey, I'm really wanting to be an author. Can I buy you a virtual coffee and pick your brain? That question is gold. Are you going to get some people who don't answer? Of course. Are you going to get some people who are like, no, of course. But are you going to get people who say yes? Yes. And this is what freaks a lot of people pleasers out. Oh my God, I don't want to take advantage of them. Oh my God, I don't want to, abuse their knowledge and I don't want to take them for granted. You guys, what's the worst case scenario? They say no. Oh darn, so sad. Move on to the next one. I will say this, as someone who gets very regular messages from people who are saying, I either want to start a podcast or who are saying, I want to start a coaching business or I want to be a coach and I have no idea where to start. The amount of people who ask me, hey, can I pick your brain? And if I don't have the time, I DM them back and forth. If the person you're wanting to reach out to is gatekeeping, then fucking fine. They're not the person for you. Move on to the next one. I firmly believe in my heart and soul that there's way too much gatekeeping in the knowledge industry. It drives me fucking crazy. Buying someone a virtual coffee for 15 minutes is one of the easiest things that you can do to get your next minimum 1 to 10 milestone goals, because they will tell you what they did to get them from point A to point B. So that is the golden milestone goal. If you can think of any milestone goal, that's the milestone goal I want you to start with. Message 5 to 10 people who are 3 to 5 steps ahead of you. Boom. Done. Ask to pick their brain and you've got it.
You want to know what one of the most searched for terms in this podcast is? Overwhelm. And of course it is. We've got 12 goals we're currently working on. Our to-do lists have been written and most likely rewritten in 7 different places. You said yes to way too many people when you were feeling social last Tuesday, and to top it all off, because you're so overwhelmed, you're scrolling through social media, seeing these amazing people accomplishing these amazing things, and then you beat yourself up because you should be doing more. Overwhelm is taking over society. And because of this, I've spent the past year studying the neuroscience of overwhelm and how it affects high achievers. And through all that research, I created an exercise that now leaves most of my private clients in tears of relief after we do it together. But now that exercise is available for you too. Over the Overwhelm is a mini course teaching you a short 15-minute exercise on how to actually get yourself out of overwhelm. Because when we're in overwhelm, the last thing we need is like a 2-hour masterclass to watch. We need a 15-minute done and dirty exercise. But because here at Imperfect Success, we believe in knowing the science behind why we do things, I've also included an explainer video for this reason that goes behind the neuroscience of why overwhelm exists in our brains in the first place, especially as high achievers. But also, because I believe in going above and beyond for you people and your amazingness, I've included troubleshooting videos that address the main causes of overwhelm and how to stop it in its tracks. This mini course has quickly become the most popular here at Imperfect Success / Life Coach Baker. And the best part is it's $30 and it's yours to watch again and again and again whenever overwhelm comes up. You can get more information about Over the Overwhelm by clicking the link in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Okay, quick recap before we go into the last step of this exercise. Number 1, Everest goal. Where are we heading? What is the bullseye on the dartboard? We need to start here, because how are we going to figure out milestone goals if we don't know the end result we're heading to? If you're running a marathon, you need to know where the finish line is for you to know the route of the marathon, or else you're just running in circles, which is not fun for anybody's knees. So we always need to know what is the end result we are working towards. Then what is the next 1 to 3 steps ahead of me? Ideally 1 to 2, ideally just 1, actually. You just need to know 1. Because once you finish milestone goal number 1, milestone goal number 2 appears, and 3 and 4. And if you get stuck, great. We have the golden milestone goal, which is anyone who's 3 to 5 steps ahead of me. Great. I message them and ask to pick their brain over a virtual coffee that I will buy for them. Last but not least, 1 sitting tasks. My friends, if you are a listener of this podcast, you're probably rolling your eyes because you're like, fucking again, Nicole? Really? Haven't we talked about 1 sitting tasks enough? No, we haven't, because people are still overwhelmed, and 1 sitting tasks are the key to getting out of overwhelm, and I will die on this hill. So next we need to look at our milestone goals. These are the goals that are 1 to 2 weeks long, and we need to break them down into 1 sitting tasks. If you're brand new here, here's what a 1 sitting task is. It is a task you can do in 1 sitting, typically 90, maybe even 60 minutes or less. Finish website, not a 1 sitting task. Do 1 last pass through and edit any grammar mistakes. That is a 1 sitting task. Write first draft of book. Not a 1 sitting task. Fuck it. That's not even a milestone goal. That's like an Everest goal. However, write 3,000 words. That is a 1 sitting task. I'm assuming. I've never been an author, but I have written 3,000 words in one sitting before. But insert whatever number works for you here. These are going to be subjective to you and your time. For instance, if you are a new parent, 1 sitting tasks might not be 60 minutes to 90 minutes. They might be 15 minutes, and that's great. Break things down into the minutest little teeny tiny task that you can do in 1 sitting. Here's why these are so important. Our brain needs things broken down, or else it gets overwhelmed. We live in such an informational age where we are in overwhelm a lot more often than we think we are. And the second we sit down, especially to do something out of our comfort zone, like most 1 sitting tasks for our goals are, the second we sit down to do something out of our comfort zone and it feels unclear, our brain will go into hyperdrive to try to make us do literally anything else, aka we're going to procrastinate. I'm going to say, wow, my kitchen is dirty. As much fun as it would be to write this email to someone pitching myself to this really big company that I'm terrified to do, I'm going to go clean my kitchen because that's going to make me feel better. No, it's going to make me procrastinate. Procrastinators, especially if you've taken the What Type of Perfectionist Are You quiz, you're very familiar with this. So please, I want you to listen up to this specifically. So I want you to go through your milestone goal. Let's say it is, right now, mine is figure out a merch store. So I'm going to make that a little more specific because I'm kind of doing this in real time. But let's say it's create 10 products that I can sell for my new podcast. Great. That is my milestone goal. For me, that is something that I just kind of design in the back end, and there's a lot of platforms that make this really easy to do in 1 to 2 weeks. So my 1 sitting task might be go into Canva and design 1 t-shirt. For me, that sounds like a really fun 1 sitting task, actually. I would do that in a heartbeat. Maybe it's reach out to a store that would be interested in hosting this as well, or collaborating with us, depending on where we're going with this. Again, this is my milestone goal, but I also share it with a sister, so I do need to collaborate with my companion on this one. But that is an example of breaking things down. Let's use another example. Let's say my Everest goal is run the Denver half marathon. I don't know if that exists, but I'm assuming it does. If my Everest goal is run that half marathon, maybe my first milestone goal is get a pair of running shoes that actually work for me. So 1 sitting task number 1 might be research 3 shoe stores that are specific for running in my area. Boom. 1 sitting task number 2, go to 1 store. Get fitted. 1 sitting task number 3, go to next store, get fitted, compare and contrast. They have to be so tiny. Now, here's the big pushback I get from a lot of people when they hear about 1 sitting tasks. Nicole, that seems so simple. Nicole, that's too easy. I feel like I'm not doing enough. That's the point. We constantly feel and berate ourselves for not doing enough, but that is because we are constantly looking at what we're lacking rather than what we're accomplishing. Normally, that's because we're also looking at how can I get to level 100 or bust. This is all about that journey, that progress thinking. It's about breaking things down so they feel manageable. Go fucking figure. That is the goal. That is the goal of goal setting, quite literally. So I want you to, with me on this episode, I want you to pause this episode right here now, whip out your notes on your phone or a Google Doc on your computer. If you're driving, I want you to pause and come back to this later. Write out at minimum 3 one-sitting tasks for your first milestone goal. 3 one-sitting tasks for your first milestone goal. That's all I want you to do. I'm assuming you're going to pause this now and do this at this moment. And friends, that's goal setting. That's goal setting at its core. What's your overall goal? What's the teeny tiny goals along the way? And then what are the teeny tiny tasks that are going to accomplish those teeny tiny goals along the way to your bigger goal? This is how we take overwhelm out of the equation. But I do want to be very clear. A lot of people feel overwhelmed when it comes to goal setting. It's because they have too many goals. It's because they also have so much going on in their life and they're not accounting for the fact that they need to redirect their energy, and that's going to cause some things to go out of balance. But you know what? I launched this a few months ago, and I really want to encourage you all that if overwhelm is something that's a natural occurrence for you, please consider checking out Over the Overwhelm. Overwhelm is something that is taking over our society. I'm going to be very, very blunt with you. I've done a lot of research on overwhelm, and we are at higher states of overwhelm than we have ever experienced as a society, freaking ever. And this is normally because we're getting so much information. We're expected to be everything for everyone else. Our to-do lists are freaking crazy and we don't know how to get it all done. We're trying to multitask, which drains our brain storage of glucose, which is its energy, and so much more. So a few years ago, I started doing this exercise with my one-on-one clients, and quite literally, they would message me back on Voxer, which is our private communication app, in tears of sheer relief because they felt for the first time not overwhelmed. They went from, oh my God, I'm freaking out, fight or flight, what am I going to do? To this feels manageable and I can get this done. So a few months ago, I decided to launch Over the Overwhelm, this exact exercise, as a mini course. It is a 15-minute exercise. 15 minutes to make you feel relief out the wazoo. Because we don't want a 2-hour masterclass when we're overwhelmed. We need something fast. We need something dirty that's going to get us out of overwhelm immediately, or else we won't do it. Over the Overwhelm also includes a video explanation of the neuroscience of overwhelm. If you've been in my space for a while, you know I'm a big believer in knowing why our brain does what it does in order to deeper understand the freaking loops we try to jump through as perfectionists. But I decided to go a step further with Over the Overwhelm. So not only do you get the explainer video, not only do you get the 15-minute exercise, but there's also a 7-video troubleshooting overwhelm. What does that mean? This is the 7 most popular causes of overwhelm and a video teaching you how to catch them before overwhelm hits. Overwhelm is something that is not going to go away overnight. It is something that is going to keep popping up because we're human beings living in the 21st century. But those videos teach you how to diminish the overwhelming nature of overwhelm, how it takes over our entire body. So I love those videos. I've received really good feedback from people who've noticed how much less they get overwhelmed since doing all of these videos together. So again, the link is in the show notes to Over the Overwhelm. I strongly recommend checking it out because it goes really well with this goal setting exercise. My sweet friends, that is what we have today. If you enjoyed this episode, or if you have a fellow goal getter in your life with you, please send them this episode. Spread the love, spread the knowledge. I wanted to do this episode for a long time, and I'm so glad we finally sat down and were able to do it. But I strongly recommend revisit this episode. Make this something that is a regular occurrence for you as you address new Everest goals or as you address new milestone goals to refresh your memory. Every goal is possible. I firmly believe that. I believe it in my heart and soul. No matter what you wish, no matter what you dream, it is possible for you. So sweet friends, keep striving for imperfect success. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.